Hey everyone, it's Allison from AllisonReeves.co, and today I'm going to do a super quick training for you guys. Everybody knows you need to have search engine optimization implemented on every single blog post you have on your site, but a lot of people recommend using WordPress plugins in order to accomplish that, or basically get your checklist of how to do SEO on each post. So what happens if you're not using WordPress? How can you determine what items you need to address in order to have your post be search engine optimized? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you the checklist of everything you need to tick off of the boxes in order to make sure that your post is optimized for SEO, whether you're using WordPress or another site like Wix or Squarespace or something else. So if that is interesting to you and you want to know, then just keep watching. All right, guys, so let me actually pull up the comments really quickly and see if you guys have any questions, just let me know. But otherwise, I'm just going to jump in here. So there's a few kind of key items that need to be covered if you're trying to optimize a post for SEO and you don't have a plugin to kind of tell you what those items are. So the first thing you want to do when you're optimizing a post for search engines is you need to determine what you're even optimizing it for. And when I say that, I'm talking about choosing a keyword phrase by which you're going to optimize your post. And maybe let me back up a little bit and just kind of tell you guys like what SEO is. Search engine optimization refers to optimizing your post to be found by search engines. So like when you're typing in a keyword phrase of something you want to research on Google, for example, that keyword, those words that you're typing in are, potential keyword phrases people may want to be found for. So I won't go into that in too much detail in this post, like how to determine what your keyword phrase is, because it does determine a little bit more research, which would make this video a little bit longer. But once you have the phrase that you want your post to be optimized for, here are the places that you want to include it on your post. So one thing I want to mention about your keyword phrase is you always want to choose a phrase that's long. You don't want to optimize your post for like mental health because it's too short and too broad. You want to be a little bit more specific. For example, having a keyword phrase like self-care for mental health. And I'm not sure what the searchability of that phrase is. I'm guessing it's okay, but that's one example. So the first place you want to include your keyword phrase is in the title of your post. Now, this is also, you can have a title of your post and you can also specify a meta title. And meta just refers to the data that Google is reading to show people, like to tell people what your post is about or what those keyword phrases are. That's probably a terrible definition, but we're not talking about meta information in detail here. But basically, you have like the title that you're specifying on the site, and then you just want to make sure that on the back end of your site, your title is represented there as well. So most sites, including Squarespace, for example, they do have the option for you to customize what your meta title is. And every now and then you'll want the meta title to be a little bit different than maybe your actual title, because sometimes when you're optimizing for SEO, it requires that you re-swizzle the words in a way that feels more awkward. That's just one example of when your meta title might be a little bit more different than your regular old title, but usually it's fine for them to be the exact same thing. Another place you want to include your keyword phrase is in the meta description. So when you do a search, can I share my screen? I think that I can. Let me just like close out a few windows. But you can include, so your meta description is what's going to show up as like the preview text in your search. And so let me just go ahead and see. I've never shared a screen before on StreamYard, but if I go to Google, and I'll just go ahead and make this screen big, and I say self-care for mental health, this text here is the meta description of this post. So some things to note are like the length of it. Like this one was a little bit too long, so it got cut off. This one is the perfect length. I think it got cut off at a great place, but that's what the meta description is. So that's another place where you want to include the your keyword phrase and the meta description. Usually your site will have a place to specify what that is, but that's kind of part of this checklist that I'm creating for you in this video right now. You also want to have your keyword phrase in the first sentence. So now we're getting into like the places that Yoast or Rank Math, these are the free plugins that I would recommend for WordPress. This is kind of like the checklist that follows of common places that you want to include your keyword phrase. So the first one is in the first sentence. If you can't include your keyword phrase in the first sentence for whatever reason, the first paragraph is okay. The first sentence is best. Including it in the heading, in a heading within the post. So normally within a blog post, you obviously have many paragraphs of information, but you also need to have headings within the post to make it easier for people to skim. So you want to include your keyword phrase within one of those headings as well. You also want to include it kind of scattered throughout the post. Now, having your keyword phrase obviously like as many times as possible is not what works for SEO anymore. Back in the day, like the early 2000s, you could do keyword stuffing, which is basically just saying your keyword phrase as many times as possible and being able to rank for it. That doesn't work anymore. So what I recommend and what most posts kind of tend to gear towards is maybe including it 2 times for every 300 words in the blog post. You also want to make sure as a part of your SEO checklist for this post that you're including both internal and external links within the post. An internal link is a link within the blog post that links to another place on your site. It could be an About Me page, it could be a related blog post, it could be a sales page that's on your site, it could be anywhere, but it's an internal link within your post that relates to what you're talking about but doesn't compete with it. So for example, you wouldn't want to link to another post that had like, well, I guess actually that'd be okay. But when you're linking to an external post, you don't want to link to a post that directly competes with your post. So for example, if I'm writing a blog post about self-care for mental health, I wouldn't want to link to a post that might be ranking very well for that keyword phrase, but I may want to link to a post that, or like a Wikipedia page, for example, that defines mental health. So an internal link is a link that is on your own website, and an external link is a link that is outside of your own website. It's somebody else's website. Lastly, the last place I want to include a keyword phrase is in the alt tag of an image. So you're going to embed an image in your blog post, whether it be somewhere within the blog post or as a featured image. And then usually when you upload an image, whether using Wix or Squarespace or WordPress or another tool, you'll be able to edit some of the kind of like technical information of that image when you upload it. One of those very common places that should exist on most platforms is the alt tag. You don't have to know exactly what that is. You just have to know that it's very important for you to include your keyword phrase in the alt tag. It's also helpful for images to include a description and a title as well. So hope this is helpful. I know this is a super quick video, but this is your checklist for the common places you're going to want to include your keyword phrase if you're not using a free WordPress plugin, to make sure that you've kind of covered your bases for optimization. Now, the last thing I'll say about SEO and like search engine optimization is that it's a long game, it's a long process. So just kind of like finding a keyword phrase and optimizing your post is not going to be the end all be all for having you be on page 1. It is a very important part of content creation, especially early on, even if you're not doing it perfectly, because as your site gets more seasoned, you're more likely to get more search traffic. So I definitely recommend that no matter how focused or not focused you are on SEO right now in your blogging business, that you do at least cover your bases. So I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. Comment down below if you have any questions. And of course, if you guys need any help on turning your blog into an actual money-making business, you can let me know down below or go to AllisonReeves.co for more information. So thank you guys for watching.